Okay, so yeah, hi. It's July 12th. I'm clearly a supervillain, and I look weird in hats, so I'm taking it off. But anyways, I'm Taylor, Cranky Comic Book Review, worst to best. Got another big stack today. I didn't think I would, but I do, so let's do it. Prefacing this with saying there's nothing bad. Your taste may vary. You might like different books than I do. It is what it is. It's my also humble opinion, and yeah, let's get into it. All right, this one. Probably not actually a bad book. I just don't know what the hell's going on, and it's number one. So it's the Lonesome Hunters, The Wolf Child. I'm guessing, and I don't know. This is by Tyler Crooks. The art is great. It's painted. It's fun. It's moody. It's creepy. It's eerie. And there's like a story of stealing some Christian artifact and doing some stuff and that, and then I'm lost. So either there's a series that came before this that explains all this, or they're going to explain it later. If they're going to explain it later, I don't give a shit. I'm done. I don't care. If there is a prequel series that I don't even know about, let me know, 'cause then I might be interested in reading it and catching up on this. I didn't do any research. I'm fucking lazy. It is what it is. I picked it up because I'm like, oh, it's an issue number one. I should have realized by the :/The Wolf Child that there's probably already a series called The Lonesome Hunters. And if there is, then I might read it, because this is not awful, but it's just one of those. It's like at the bottom of the pile, because I was like, what the fuck is all this? Like, it's written like you're supposed to know the characters. You're supposed to sort of know the plot. You're supposed to have a background interest in them, and there's none of that. So I don't think it's a great number one regardless, because there should still be a new way in for new readers. New way for new, whatever. But there's not, really. And so you're kind of like scratching your head, like, okay, that's interesting approach there, Tyler. So whatever, it's fine. All right, next. We're starting with a slew of indie books. And it's not to say they're bad. It's just kind of they all had like some issues that bugged me. And so this one, Antarctica, has a really interesting premise. It's a homeless woman down in her luck going to find her dad. That's kind of a great setup for a story. But it is very bizarrely paced and very like a strange first issue. And the art is stiff and kind of bizarre and doesn't really fit the nature of the story. So I think I need another run through with an editor and like possibly a different artist to really help make it to shine. But like this issue is just kind of all over the. It's not even all over the place. It's just it gets the story across, and you sort of understand what's happening, but it's just like it's just a very, very weird way to go about it timeline wise, and as far as what's going on, and it's just kind of clunky. It didn't really work for me. It might work better collected, and it might have a better wrap up, and it might have all these things that I won't know about because I'm not going to read anymore. It didn't grab me enough to keep me going with issue number two, and I really, really kind of hit the art in this. So it is what it is. And then another one, Sirens of the City. Really interesting idea. Not as weirdly paced. It does have some weird pacing issues. It's written by Joanne Starr, illustrated by Kerry Randolph. It's mostly black and white and red and blue. So it doesn't explain everything in here, which is fine. You don't need to get all explainy and stuff. Like the main character might or might not have powers. And there are other characters that might or might have powers that might or might not be looking for her, because she might or might not have powers. And like the character's down in her luck, doesn't trust anybody, and it's an interesting enough setup, but again, there's just some clunky artwork, and by the end, there's like, I think, two characters that I'm confusing, but the artwork just doesn't make it clear, and the pattern doesn't make it clear. I think there's a reference to Sandman in here, like right, you see the red panel that looks Sandman-y and gothy and making fun of it, but I think that's supposed to be either, I can't tell if that's a character we met earlier or not. So there are some problems with the art where it's just really unclear. And it's unclear in places where it's like necessary to the narrative. So you're like, what in the fuck? And I looked through it a few times, and like when the art is solid, it's solid. But it's also chunked up very tiny into a lot of different panels. And some of it might be the character design where some of the characters just look too damn similar. And there's some of that, but like I don't know. It's an interesting idea. I like the main character. I actually like the setup, but the art on this one again is just enough like where I'm like, I don't know what the fuck exactly happened, and I don't need to know. Like if the reader's not supposed to know what exactly happened, that's fine. But that doesn't seem to be the case here. It seems to be like you're supposed to understand it, and I just didn't because it's not clear storytelling. So I think the artist is not bad, the Carrie Randolph. I just think they need, a few more passes like with an editor or like somebody to like help them storyboard and figure it out and make it a little more clear, and then maybe some just different character designs or something, just something to make it where I'm like wasn't lost at the end. The parts where I'm lost are at the end of the issue where it's really kind of vital you understand what's going on. So whatever. Anyways, all right. Now I've got a slew of DC books because it's how I roll. Everything's going in chunks this week. World's Finest, Teen Titans #1. This is written by Mark Waid, illustrated by somebody. Lupacino, that's the last name, I think. Yeah, Lupacino. And it's in the DC's new house style, which is really thinly inked lines, flat colors, and it sometimes works. Like, Chris Samnee's on the cover. This is Chris. I really wish Chris Samnee was doing the illustration on this entire book. I think it'd be more dynamic, more fun, and it'd just be better. But like the art is serviceable. It's not bad. Like there are some fun moments in it. You get like, although you get people like surfing on manta rays and stuff, which doesn't seem super PC, and you get them fighting big old things, and it's not crazy dynamic in the art. The story. It's a new Teen Titans being founded. Not Titans, because that's different. And not all new Teen Titans, because that's different. But these are just these characters, all these old characters now getting reformed in the modern day. And then it's about social media. And that's the part where I'm just rolling my eyes, because it's 2023. We've done the social media thing to death. We've done the whole, like, oh, we shouldn't be, like, gawking for the camera. We should be saving lives thing. I've read variations of this story probably no less than 50 times. And it's not any more interesting the 51st time. So I think Mark Waid's a solid writer. I think the team has some fun fits to it. It just still wasn't enough to grab me, and I just don't give a shit to keep going on it. That's kind of the theory with most of this stuff this week. It really is. It's like, okay, well, while there's like some bits and pieces, they just don't come together to make enough of a whole for me to really give a fuck. So there's that. All right. Are we doing this? Yeah, well, hang on. We're going to switch this up a little bit. This is like, here's my thing. I read them, I stack them, and then I go through it and I'm like, is that right? And yeah, here we go. It's an event book by DZ. It started last week, The Dawn of the Night Terrors, or no, maybe that's what it should be called, right? Dawn of Night, doesn't matter. This is DC's Night Terrors, Dawn of DC, Dawn, Night, what the fuck? I hate DC's titling. Night Terrors #1. There's 3 different artists in the book, and it shouldn't be. It's a fucking event book. Give the artist enough time to just draw the damn solid issue and be done with it. Like these event books are all you're getting so big that like you have to like cram all these other artists on because they don't have time. And like there's some really solid art on some of this. The first artist doing Boston Brand, fantastic, like nice and painterly, and that I believe is Giuseppe Camuncoli. Sure, we'll go with that. But then there's also Stefano Nessi and Casper Wingard, so it could be any one of them. Look, different artists, different style, different. And this is fine. It's an event thing. I love Boston Brand. One of my favorite DC characters, the Dead Man. It's sort of the quantum leaping character. I can jump into bodies and stuff. And like Josh Williamson, the writer, does a solid enough job of handling Boston Brand. But then and also this is touching on things from other books I like Sandman and other Vertigo books, and like it's referencing a lot of shit. But I don't think Josh Williamson, I think he's punching above his weight class here. I think he has it in him to tell the story that you think he's going to tell. Because you get John Dee from the Sandman books, which is one of my favorite series of all time. You get Boston Brand, who's one of my favorite characters of all time. And then you get like a sort of Justice League dark story, which is fine. But it's not dark enough. The main character of Insomnia is just a fucking stupid looking character. So it's poorly character designed. And it's just the whole thing is like, oh, the whole world's asleep in nightmares because the Insomnia is doing something, which is the opposite of what Insomnia is. So Insomnia is either can't sleep or whatever. Dumb character name, everything else. It's okay. I'm not anti every event, but this one just seems especially stupid to me, and I don't dig it. And like I will probably read the main, or at least I'll flip through the main Night Terrors just to see if Boston Brand gets handled again, because I really do like the character. And there's a revelation at the end of this book that does at least have potential to be mildly interesting. Mildly interesting. It's not great. It's not world-changing. It's not anything. It's just kind of a thing that's taken over DC for a bit, and it's kind of annoying. So, whatever. I'm cranky. This is not my favorite shit, but I like it better than Teen Titans because at least it's not social media. All right, next. we have a book that I'm surprised I'm still reading, and it still has just enough to probably keep me hooked. This is Astro Bots. So What Now Publishing, Simon Furman and Hector Trunick. Hector Trunick's art is fantastic. It's basically Transformers, and Simon Furman wrote the original Transformers for a long ass time, and you can tell he's got like this weird '80s slang going that doesn't really fit with the robots in space, and like the way they're speaking is like outdated and antique-y, even though they're in space. And it's a lot of talky bits and not a lot of fighty bits. I want robots to have fighty bits, but this is more political intrigue with two sides of robots deciding what to do with sleeping humans and whether or not humans are worth saving. So there's a big overarching message about how humanity's doomed, which we are. I mean, world's hottest thing on record, and we're all going to die in climate change anyway, so might as well just enjoy this robot book and while we go out, right? It's fine. It's fine plus. I love the art, like I said. And there's just enough here to keep me going. It's got the robot-y bits, it's got the spacey bits, but it needs to get a little more fighty bits, and it needs to have a little more action. Now, there's a bit in here. There really is. But it's just not enough of it. And, like, the idea, it's fine. It doesn't seem super unique, really. It just seems like, okay, that's a fine, passable vehicle to tell a robot story. And so, there you have it. Astro Bots, number 3. It's not bad, but it's not great. All right. Then we have another DC book, Doom Patrol, number 4 of 7. This is Dr. Sink. Yeah, new character, Dr. Sink, I believe. Maybe not new. Maybe it was introduced last issue. It's been so fucking long since the last issue that I can't remember. But it's the psychologist issue. And it's Dennis Culver writing and David Lafuente art. And this is just an excuse to catch you up on the characters. I almost think this should have been issue number 1 or 2 or 3. Or issue number 2, maybe. Set up the team and then have this like catching everybody up because this is that's all this is. This is like you're getting to know the team, but we're 4 issues in, and if you don't know the team by now, what are you doing? Like, why are you still reading this? What's interesting for the reader? If like, why in this point of the story would you do this? And it's fine. Again, it's all chunked up in a little story. So you get Elastaman, you get Elastigirl, Negative Man, and Robot Man, and some of the originals. You get a couple of new ones. And you learn a bit about them, and like you get some okay art. I think it's Lafuente's worst art issue. I think the characters are weirdly proportioned in places, and like just kind of weirdly chunked out. You get a lot of splash pages, which is sure. I mean that's great if you're just selling them, but like I just don't love it. I do think it's not a bad book, but I think it's just kind of like a weirdly paced thing. And I still love the Doom Patrol. It's one of my favorites. So one of my favorite team books. This issue is not my favorite. This issue's fine. Plus, I don't know. We got a couple to go. It's an okay week for books. Not fantastic. And I'm getting a phone call right now that I'm ignoring because I love you people, and I'm not going to stop recording this video in the middle of a phone call because my phone is right there, and it's a thing. So, all right. Are we doing this in order? Hang on. Let me just make sure this order is right. You know what? Yeah, this is right. All right. We can have Moon Knight number 25. This is a $10 book. Square bound. There's a new character introduced, probably maybe 2. Camachuli or Cappuccino on the main art, and then there's a backup artist. But this backup artist kind of makes sense because it's a flashbacky sequence. Who's the other backup? Viti, and it's Jed McKay. It's Jed McKay's best book, and Jed McKay's hit or miss for me. Like I've given up on Strange. I've given up on some of his other stuff. Ventures, the jury's still out on, but his Moon Knight has been solid, and this is solid. Is it $10 solid? I don't know. Maybe it doesn't feel like an anniversary. So you get a little backup thing, which I can't tell if it's a reprint or not, by Doug Mensch and Bill Sienkiewicz. I think it's a reprint. I don't think it's new Sienkiewicz stuff. And you get some cool splash pages. You get like the Cappuccino's art, which I love, is inky and vibrant, although some people I know don't like it, aka the LCS guy that I was talking to about it today. And then you get, like a solid Moon Knight adventure, reliant heavily on having some knowledge of his past rogues gallery. If you don't, you're really going to lose some out in some of the, and you have to like, there's some deep cuts in here as far as like shit Moon Knight has done in the past. So like they reference it, so you know what's going on, but like you lose a little bit of the punch if you haven't read the original stuff. And I've read some Moon Knight. I've not read all of it, so I'm caught up in the current series. But the villains and stuff that are in here are not from this current series. They're from previous series, which seems kind of stupid to me. It seems like you could have told the same basic story with villains that are in the current runs, the current readers that have a little bit easier in, but what do I know? I'm just a cranky comic book reviewer Cool art stuff. I dig it. This is not the end of the series. There is an issue number 26 coming, and it's just, this is a weird issue number 25 because nothing, for $10, nothing's fucking resolved at the end of this. Really. It's just another, it should have just been 2 fucking issues. So there's my swearing, and there's my problem with it. Really, when I'm thinking about it more, I'm like, that's not a special anniversary thing. There's nothing anniversary about it other than that weird backup little thing that's the thing. And then there's also a new series. So we're either going to have 2 Moon Knight series or the first one's ending. I don't know. I didn't do any research because we've been over this. I'm fucking lazy. So there's Moon Knight City of the Dead by David Pose. I'm actually looking forward to that because I like David Pose as a writer. And, yeah, like, this is okay. It's good. It's just like, for $10, just put it into 2 issues and don't do this stupid Marvel bullshit where you're like, oh, people paid $25 since it made it 25 issues. Fuck you, Marvel. You're an asshole. All right. Hunger and the Dusk. Number 1. This is Studios? IDW. G. Willow Wilson with Chris Wildgoose on the art. And this is the start of a high fantasy series. And I love high fantasy. I read it all as a kid. I like Lord of the Rings, all that kind of stuff. High fantasy and old sci-fi are my jam. And this is humans and orcs having humans and orky problems, and then other stuff happens. I don't want to spoil it. This is mostly setup. But it's a solid setup. Like, I will continue this one, and because it does have me intrigued enough. Like, the characters, it's a fairly large cast of characters. I mean, not enormous. You can follow along. The character designs, you're never confused with who's who. And there's just enough character development where you start to give a shit by the end of first issue. And then there's a bit of, like, setup for the next one. And, you know, the world's in dire trouble, as it is in fantasy stories, and yeah, it's good. Like, it's not amazing, but it's really good, and I will keep up with this and at least give it another issue. So the Hunger and the Dusk, issue number 1, like, yeah, it's got that sort of, I don't know, it makes me think of Power Ranger style, which I don't read, but like that's, and again, the thin lines, kind of anime, kind of manga influenced. It's fine. The art, it reads like it's part of an animated series, which is decent. I just wish it was inked a little bit differently, like in more traditional, kind of old fucking curmudgeon. So it is what it is. But I still like it. All right, then we have a surprise that I didn't expect to like a whole lot, but we have Loki number 2. This is the variant. I can't. Nick Klein, probably, I'm guessing. Nope, somebody else. It doesn't matter. This is written by Dan Waters, art by Jermaine Peralta. And this is like evil trickster Loki doing trickster Loki things to catch. Loki's ship has been stolen and broken into pieces, and she has to go get the ship back because mischief ensues. And so it reads kind of like an updated fantasy story about Loki, which I dig. And like the language is a little bit flowery and a little bit, you know, mythical, but not overly so. And you get a solid, fun tale of the Lord of Mischief, which is all I'm asking for. If you're going to have Loki, have them be mischievous, and you get that here. And the art's solid, the story's solid. I don't want to spoil it, but yeah, you don't get like a lot of Loki swinging around battle axes and shit, but you get like Loki just being kind of tricky, which is, you know, what you want. You want a tricky Loki, and so it's fun. I don't have a whole lot to say about this one. Because I don't want to talk about spoiling it, and I don't know, I'm getting old, and I know I'm getting faster with these reviews, but it is what it is. All right, and then my favorite book of the week, which is still mostly setup, and this author has not been on the top of my list lately, but they are on my top of the list normally. This is Jeff Lemire, Fishflies, and this is Lemire on Lemire drawing Lemire. This is like set maybe in the world of Royal City. I'm not sure. It has a color palette, and like it's got that weird atmospheric horror stuff. It's got father issues. It's got a lonely kid. It touches on almost all the Lemireisms you could ask for in a book. You know, you've got creepiness, you've got mystery, you've got a setup, and like what could be a longer story. You've got a whole lot of weird fish flies, which are fish flies. You've got a possible antagonist, protagonist, and no non-antagonist, I don't know, whatever. And you've got a lonely kid, and you've got, yeah, I mean, if you've read Lemire, this is going to feel familiar to you, and not in a bad way, because I do think Lemire does find ways to keep everything I'm saying fresh, and this does feel fresh. And I love Lemire's loose, inky kind of art. I don't think everyone does, but I don't care. Everyone has their own thing. But this is like painted. It's fine. It's another semi-expensive book. It's just $6. It's about as thick as the $10 Marvel thing, but whatever. You don't get as much density in the story, but you get a better story. So, this is the Peach Momoko variant cover. I just like the cover a little bit better than the A cover. And yeah, I am optimistic. The other one, Ice Road Truckers that he did, I can't remember what that one was. And the Little Monsters, those two they've been kind of misses for me. But this feels like Lemire at the top of this game again, and I'm down for it. I love it, and it is my book of the week. So yeah, if you want, if you feel like Lemire has if you like Lemire and you feel like he's not been doing his best work, maybe give this one a shot, or at least flip through it. I think it might change your mind, or be like, oh yeah, that is solid. So there you go, there you have it. I'm gonna not be on here anymore because I'm tired and I need to go get some dinner. So I will talk to you all later. Don't be a dick, even if you're being attacked by flies. I don't know if that's from the book thing. So whatever. I'll see you around.